Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about Blue Origin. So let's dive right into it. Now, what's the idea behind this? Well, idea is very simple. They're going to do a rocket launch to suborbital heights. Basically, they're going to cross the Kármán line and it's going to be suborbital. Basically, they're not going to take orbit. Now, another aspect of it is that there are many rockets that can do this, but it will be reusable rocket for quick turnaround. So if you want to make a industry out of it, it has to be frequent enough. You cannot be like, okay, one launch today and another launch 2 years from now. So you have to understand reusability was a very key factor into this. Without it, they will simply not have anything at the other end, and it will be very safe simply because it will have full abort window. Basically, at any point in time, rocket can go boom, basically the part that has a lot of fuel, and the system will be still safe simply because there is a giant solid rocket motor in the exact center, and it has enough thrust that it can easily basically remove the capsule from harm's way. And the idea is basically they tested it, like actually tested it on the ground, tested it on max q, so they know for a fact that this puppy is more than good enough, and it does have enough safety system where it's like completely safe, or as safe as it can be, and it's completely autonomous, so there is no person who can make a mistake. So that's the idea of it. Now, testing on this puppy is kind of different and weird simply because the first flights were achieved in New Shepard 29 April 2015. Now, I'm like, wait a minute, that's long back. Yes, that's a weird aspect of it. And that was the only time where they had a minor issue where the capsule were recovered. Basically, even if there were people inside the system, they would have been safe, but the booster crashed on the landing. Now, again, it did not used to look like this. There was a very different, but all I can find is a very low resolution image of that. And after that, they did tests. But they did more tests, and they did some even more tests, and that's the weird part. They did total 15 tests. That's a bit too much. Like, even NASA will not ask you to have that many tests. They're like, okay, one test is not enough. Okay, two tests, three tests, four tests, five tests. 15 is like a bit too much. So I do not know why this was stretched this much. Everybody would agree, like, few tests good. 15 16 tests, that's like, what are you doing? Because again, every time you are testing it, you are degrading the life of the rocket, and these rockets are like on principle supposed to last for 25 launches, but they're never gonna push it to that much, and you're never gonna send a passenger on, like, last 25th part of the system. So the more launch they started with basically New Shepard 1, New Shepard 2, New Shepard 3. Now they are on New Shepard 4. So that's why this is very weird. It's like the testing system, and they are modifying a lot. Now be mindful, when I'm saying modifying a lot, that does not mean they have to touch the performance of this, because for suborbital system they had to reach some criteria was having huge ass windows, having a easiest spacious compartment. Those have been achieved, so they can achieve the height, they can achieve the window, the space inside, all of them are good. And when they are using hydrogen system, the engines are very clean, so they do not self-destruct, and they have very deep throttle. That's why their landing system is surprisingly reliable, and capsule system has enough redundancy that they can handle it. Like, they can easily survive even on one parachute. So if one of them fail, no issue. If two of them fail, still it would be a bit uncomfortable, that they can still fail. That's why their chairs have like giant cushion, so in case of only one parachute are working, they can still land safely. So, and all the modifications that are going on right now is only to make sure that this can be basically refurbished very quickly. So exactly how Falcon 9 was like maxed out by Block 4, but they still made Block 5, and there was no performance change, but the changes was to make sure that it can be refurbished as quickly as possible. That's what's happening here. So basically they can do the turnaround as quickly as possible. Now let's understand the mission here, which was very simple. The New Shepard booster was SN4, NS4, sorry, pardon about that. And spacecraft, they called it RSS first step. That is a bit weird, but they called it that. And it was done 20 July 2021, and 1 a.m. basically 1:10 a.m. in UTC time. Now the total flight duration was surprisingly small, as in like 10 minutes 18 seconds. So again, for some people it would be really good, because it will like completely high acceleration for throughout the system, because it did achieve some serious G-force while going up and while coming down, because it does cross the atmosphere to such a large extent. And when it hits the atmosphere for a brief period, there was like almost 5G of stress put onto the capsule. Now again, people can easily withstand 5G shocks for small duration. It's like almost like racing a brake very hard or hitting something. So it is achievable for, like, manageable for most people. So mission was a success. Now let's understand the people that was in. Now this is the very interesting aspect. They had actual paid customer, meaning if of course Blue Origin is not going to tell you how much money they need to run the system, but there is a very good chance, because they had bidding war rather than like, okay, this is our cost. Let's say 250,000 is the cost of seat, they were not like, okay, that's how much you have to pay. They were like, okay, let's bid on it. More than enough people bid on it, and the winning bid was $25 million, and there is a very good chance that one might have been like covering the whole mission system. So that person had a conflict of interest, so their seat is now moved to second flight, and that vacant seat was like bought up by some basically individual who sent his son instead of coming himself. So that was done. Now, because this system is 100% autonomous, you do not need any pilot, so that does save up some on human resource cost. And they had two Bezos at the same time, so they had Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos. I copy pasted the wrong name. So basically Jeff Bezos and his brother. So on top of that, the most PR point of is Wally Funk. Now, the reason Wally Funk is such an interesting character is simply because she was the quote-unquote original astronaut for Mercury project. This was before Apollo project, and she was denied simply because that time NASA did not want to send women into space. But by the time like NASA changed her stance, like she cleared all the testing. She's like, I'm as qualified as any human can be. She's like qualified as all hell. But at that point, like her age was like so senior that nobody wanted to send her. So she kind of waited very long. So this was a very good, like this person is deserving as any other individual can be. Deserving person went into this, and it creates a very good message from PR point of view. So really good. Another aspect is that she is the oldest person in space at this point in time. That fundamentally means that opens up your basically pool of people who you can select for going into space, and that's the easiest way to prove that yes, even an old person, 80-plus-year-old person can go into space without dying. So that is really awesome from PR point of view. And then we have Oliver Damien. Now this is another aspect of it, that he's the youngest, 18 years old. Basically, if legal laws allowed it, he would have been 16 years old, or whoever they could have sent. So that also means there are a lot of rich people who have their kids. They can like, hey kid, go have fun. So I'm pretty sure there are more than enough people who can afford this sort of flights. So people wise, they did a very amazing job, and if they are not lying about it, they have pre-booking which is going into 100 million plus. So fundamentally speaking, they're settled, they're good. So what we can understand about the future from this point onwards? Well, space tourism is a go. At this point in time, before this, everybody was claiming about this. Everybody was like, we're gonna go to space in 2012, 2013, 2014, 15, 16, 17. Only now we are finally going there. But at this point in time, it's a real thing. It's actually happening. So we have two flights pre-planned before 2020. One is out, aka Blue Origin should do 2 more flights. Not sure about how much Virgin Galactic will do, but there is a very good chance they will do at least 1 or 2 more flights. So at this point in time, 2 billionaires have already went into space, and they have a lot of advanced booking, especially Blue Origin, because Blue Origin is way too confident, like a flat out showing you how much money they have. So that fundamentally means they have a lot of interest into it, and it will give a boost to Blue Origin itself, simply because Blue Origin, you have to understand, engineers of high caliber, they don't think as like very basic person base. They do not think like, okay, I need money, then I will work for it. They are in such a skill set where they're like, dude, their skills are valued enough that people will pay for them. That's not an issue for them. They want to work in a company that's like working worth something. Like that's the key aspect. It must be worth something. So let's say there is a one company that was like, all we do is launch satellite, and another company that we send actual humans into space. Like a lot of scientists will pick up the scientists, engineers, and all that jazz will pick up the second one. People want to do something that is like worth to them. Like again, different people are like, dude, all I do is a job. Again, most people are like that, but some people are different. So getting this kind of boost in a Blue Origin's image point is really, really helpful. So they have now 4 astronauts added to the total astronaut list. These people are like, things are changing very drastically. At this point in time, things are changing way too drastically. Now I can easily see by basically 2022, this would be a routine occurrence. Almost once a month, at least one of them would be like, at least as in like Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin would be launching crew, if everything goes well. I'm pretty sure that by 2022, 6 flights should have been done, but if everything goes well, unless we have another pandemic. So this was my presentation on Blue Origin's space flight. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.